Hi guys, this is gsndon.com and I'm here with a full review of the Samsung Galaxy S7. We've already reviewed the Galaxy S7 Edge a month ago and now it's time for the big flagship. It was announced at Mobile World Congress 2016 and it's a glass and metal smartphone that follows the Galaxy S6 from last year. It's priced at $643 on Amazon.com and I have to mention we like the Galaxy S6 a lot, so this one has big shoes to step into. And you should probably know that we're testing here the Exynos version with 32GB of storage. Now let's discuss the design. So this is a glass and metal phone. We have a 3D curved glass back with curved glass edges like the Galaxy Note 5. There's an aluminum frame that's now wider for a better grip and a 2.5D curved screen panel up front, very discreetly curved of course, not like the Edge model. It measures 7.9mm in thickness, so it's clearly thicker than the Galaxy S6 and it's 6.8mm, also a bit heavier, around 14 grams if I'm not mistaken. And then I should also mention that the size is pretty close to the S7 Edge, although this one is a bit thicker and a bit lighter, 5 grams lighter and 0.2mm thicker. It has the same 5.1 inch diagonal as the Galaxy S6. It's a very comfy phone, very elegant, and once again the grip is not affected by the glass panels included in the mix. It's a bit of a fingerprint and dust magnet, especially the backside and especially the black model, but it's still made of premium materials and it's quite the looker. It has a more refined design compared to the S6, especially if you look at these rounded corners. You'll notice the refinement compared to the predecessor. The camera bulk is now smaller and a novelty is the IP68 certification for dust and waterproofing, which the S6 did not have. Buttons are comfy, this one and those ones, all of them comfy. One-hand usage is very easy, you probably figured out already. And the conclusion is that this is a very elegant phone, good looking and comfy. It comes in black, white, gold and silver. And now it's time to discuss the display. So we're dealing here with a 5.1 inch Quad HD screen, pretty much the same package as the Galaxy S6, Super AMOLED panel, and since we don't have a video player installed, really we don't, but you can find the video app in the Galaxy App Store, I'm going to resort to the gallery and play our usual test clip. The gallery app includes its very own options like pop-up play and also subtitles and play speed. You can also pinch to zoom. And now let's talk about the actual visual experience. So we have fantastic colors, deep black, good brightness, great contrast even in the sun, and wide view angles. Plus, of course, the image is very crisp. The pixels available here, these are the pixels under the microscope. Their setup is the Diamond Pentile Matrix 1, that's their arrangement you're probably familiar with from other Samsung phones. And now we also did a brightness test, so let's see how that came out. Indoor, in regular lighting, 451 lux units. Meanwhile, after being subjected to a very strong light source, the light sensor of the phone, well, the lux meter showed us 716 lux units, which is excellent, and I feel that in the full sun of the summer you can easily get past 800 lux units. Still, we're theoretically below the Galaxy S7 Edge that had 892 lux, and also theoretically below the Galaxy S6 Edge and its 933 lux. And still we beat the Galaxy Note 4 and iPhone 6s, for example. So it's a very bright screen, that's for sure. Now the display has its very own settings, which you can find here. It includes brightness, font, but also something called display scaling. You can view things more condensed or in a standard way. Also options for icons with or without backgrounds. Screen timeout, smart stay, which has been available ever since the Galaxy S4 if I'm not mistaken, and something called always on display. Basically, even with the screen in standby mode, you can view the clock, calendar or an image like this, only by drawing about 1% of the battery per hour as far as we know. Okay, back to the display. We also have the adaptive display mode here. There are many screen modes. There's adaptive, that adapts to each app or situation, AMOLED cinema, a bit of oversaturation, extra vivid colors, photo, a bit more realistic, and basic, the flatter of them all. Then we have the LED indicator option, and finally you can keep the screen turned off in your purse so you won't press it by accident. So once again, an excellent screen, but keep in mind that the Galaxy S6 also had an excellent screen. If you want to talk about the hardware, we have to once again refer to this Exynos Octa 8890 processor, which has 8 cores and brings the Mali T880 MP12 GPU. Of course, in USA, China and Japan, you will find the Snapdragon 820 version. We also get here 4GB of LPDDR4 RAM compared to the 3GB of the predecessor, and 32 or 64GB of storage plus a microSD card slot, once again novelty compared to the predecessor. This is a flagship, so obviously we don't have any problems with any lag and any things like that. It works perfectly, picture perfect, and we ran Grand Theft Auto on it, no problem, Carmageddon, no problem, and of course the usual test game, Riptide GP2, with all the options to the max, no problem whatsoever. Let's have a peek at those dynamic shadows, lighting effects. All the pixels are where they should be, the textures are perfect, the water is realistic, and the speed sensation is great. This is a pretty future-proof phone, I'll give you that much. I'm guessing it can run any game for 2 or 3 years. Who knows what major port is coming. You may even end up playing Portal 2 on it. That would be something. Okay, we obviously also did some benchmarks, and let's see just how we're sitting here. Okay, so this is our sister site, mobilissimo.ro, and we have the benchmarks right here. So excellent results. Basically, we're almost all the time on the podium. Let's see in quadrant, for example. We're second placed, only second to the Galaxy S7 Edge, so great result. And then in Antutu 6.0, third placed, only following up the Xiaomi Mi 5 and iPhone 6s Plus, so we're in good company. Meanwhile, in the 3D Mark test, we're fourth place behind the same Xiaomi Mi 5 and iPhone SE, which is a surprise there. Then in the Geekbench 3, we're sixth placed in the single core test, and in the multi-core one, only the S7 Edge beat us, but not by very much. So excellent results, great performance, nothing to object about here, and still there is a bit of a jump, this one from the Galaxy S6. Not a big one, but still a jump, an increase in performance. Now let's see the temperature. This was actually a very good result. After playing the game Riptide GP2 for 15 minutes, we achieved 31.1 degrees Celsius, and this is one of the coolest phones we've tested. Usually they go up to 35, 33 or 38 degrees. It's probably courtesy of that heat pipe with those copper wires. Now it's time to talk about acoustics. So we got this singular speaker right here. We don't have a music player from Samsung, so we resort to Google Play Music. Even though we have the stock Android player, we get the typical Samsung equalizer, which includes those modes and also includes these 7 channels to tweak, plus these 2 knobs for extra bass and treble, and options for increasing the sound resolution with this upscaler, surround, tube amp, concert hall and adapt sound, to name just a few. And now it's time to listen to some music. Okay, now the conclusions. We have a pretty loud sound, it's also very clear, great bass, no distortion and particularly good guitar. Now let's see the headphones. And the headphones are exactly the same as those of the Galaxy S6 and also the Galaxy Note 5, if I remember correctly. Here we go. The format is the same, the design is the same, they have this little extra bit of rubber here. They sit comfortably in the ear and they have excellent noise isolation, good volume, good bass, but frankly speaking I've heard louder. They have a tangling wire and a pretty big remote, maybe too big by current standards. And just in case some of you were wondering, there's no FM radio on this handset. Okay, time to talk about decibels, because we also did a decibel meter test and let's see how that came out. So 84.7 decibels, which is great, particularly since we beat the Galaxy S7 Edge and iPhone 6s Plus. Still we scored below the Galaxy S6 and it's 89 decibels. Still a great acoustic experience. And now time to talk about the camera. So if you saw a review of the Galaxy S7 Edge, you know what to expect. 12 megapixel shooter with f1.7 aperture, which is a decrease of resolution from the 16 megapixel of the Galaxy S6, but an improved aperture and also bigger pixels, 1.4 microns compared to 1.12 microns. Face detection autofocus, single LED flash, and it comes in two versions, this camera, with a Sony or Samsung sensor. Just like in the case of the Galaxy S7 Edge, we have the Samsung sensor. Well, we also have dual pixel technology, which means that each pixel has two photodiodes, which can be read independently during the focusing, but also together. We have optical image stabilization, and the front camera is a 5 megapixel shooter, also with f1.7 aperture. You just notice the camera app opening up very fast. We have a very fluid zoom and a fantastically fast focus and exposure change. Picture taking is also fast, lightning fast, I might add. And then other things we're mentioning, well, the interface is 95% the same as on the Galaxy S6 and Note 5. We have effects, we have HDR, timer, flash options, resolution, 12 megapixels in 4:3 or 9.1 megapixels in 16:9. And then we have the video capture options. You can go up to 4K or Full HD 60 frames per second. And we have motion photo, basically sort of like Apple's live photos, sort of. Tracking autofocus, video stabilization, you can shoot raw files. And then we also have the main capture modes. There's auto, pro, selective focus, panorama, video collage, live broadcast, slow motion, virtual shot, and food, as well as hyperlapse, which is basically a very stabilized time-lapse that can be taken while walking. So moved around time-lapse that's faster, and you can set up its speed, and also very well stabilized. In the Pro mode you can tweak a lot of stuff, and by stuff I mean focus, white balance, ISO, and shutter speed from the 24,000th part of a second to 10 seconds. Exposure also here, autofocus setup and metering are all available right here. And using the front camera you can take Quad HD videos and selfie panoramas, so you got that covered. Okay, time to go to the gallery and see how this camera handled the heat. So let's have a look at the gallery, and as usual we have a huge amount of shots, over 280 of them. We've taken some shots during a sunny day and some at night, and let's start from the beginning. As you can see, it was a very sunny day initially, and we registered some pretty good colors, although if you really zoom in and start checking for flaws, you'll see that this hue is rather artificial and the sky never looks like this in this blue shade. Then we register some excellent close-ups, this one here, with a great focus and a very nice texture of this water fountain. And then we proceed to the panorama that's pretty generous and very wide, 23,920 pixels over 2112 pixels, and pretty well caught, although once again the colors are a bit on the artificial side and a bit oversaturated. Then we had some selfies, not much to object here, they're just okay. I wouldn't call them an evolution compared to the Galaxy S6 that took similar if not better selfies. Let's proceed with the other shots. So we have realistic colors this time, good texture of these toys. We even tried out the HDR just to see if it works. Every once in a while there's a bit of oversaturation going on here, but generally I was happy with the capture, although it did not feel exactly excellent. So a regular shot and HDR shot, highlighting the details a bit and slightly burning the shot. There's a bit of over sharpening going on, and check this out, this is where the HDR comes into play. Regular shot, and then this one totally lights up this fence here, although the clouds are a bit burnt on this occasion. And a very good close-up of a flower, we have many of those with various types of flowers. And don't get me wrong, the captures are excellent here, details are great, and the focusing is premium. The close-ups are pretty much perfect, and if you zoom into landscape shots, you'll notice that the details are quite good, as I just shown you here. And now let's see even more shots, because we sure do have a lot of them. As I said before, we play with the focus, and this is the selective focus option. You can choose far focus or near focus with excellent results thanks to the ultra fast focus of the camera. Even more selfies, this time in the full light of the sun. Still unimpressed, frankly speaking. And then we played with the zoom, regular zoom, and all the way to the max. We did register some detail loss, to be honest, here. And more shots. Great focus, exposure, white balance, color and detail, although every once in a while over sharpening and over saturation happens. Some excellent close-up shots here. You can truly see the details of this flower, one of the best close-ups I've ever taken, and once again the Galaxy S6 could pull off something similar, so I'm not exactly hugely impressed. And then there's also a bit of focus play later on, so let's see it. So here we go, we focused on this flower and then on this one with this excellent result. So when it comes to focusing, this phone is a champion, as well as close-ups. When it wants to and the lighting is proper, you can get excellent colors, but sometimes you'll feel some oversaturation and over sharpening. But in the end, it's still a quality camera, although not a big jump from the Galaxy S6. There are some situations when the Galaxy S6 feels superior to the S7 in some areas. Of course, we also tested the camera during the night time, and let's see what came out. So we have these very big and long halos for the street lighting. I would call the brightness okay, as well as the clarity. And in those shots that feel a bit strange, we play with the shutter speed just to see what happens. We have a great flash, although it kind of burns the shot sometime. Although the same flash managed to produce this shot, so no flash here. And then this is what happens with a flash on an excellent close-up of a flower at night. And what follows is a series of shots in artificial lighting. Colored me unimpressed, and once again I remember the S6 being only a bit better. I also tried out some selfies during the night, not impressive at all, some grain and blur, but with the proper lighting, once again the result becomes a bit better. Playing with the shutter speed again. If you're taking pictures during the night, you should notice that in the distance things appear to be very blurry, so you should remember that. And indoors we have some shots here. I chose colorful objects to test them, both in the yellow lighting and in the white lighting. I have to say I'm pretty happy with them. So overall good texture and good colors in indoor shots, but not more than that. I can't help myself but compare this phone to the other champions of the cameras out there. So for example, during the nighttime capture, it places below the Huawei Mate 8 and the LG Nexus 5X that are superior in low light, and I'd say the camera is great, but it's not a big improvement over the S6 that itself was great. Only the focus has evolved, that's what you should remember. Now when it comes to the video, we did Full HD 30 frames per second with a 60 megapixel bitrate, we did 60 frames per second Full HD, and finally 4K with a 50 megapixel bitrate. Now this is the first video where we also tested the zoom. So here we go, let's see what happens to these ducks. We start zooming in, and there's a bit of quality loss here and some burn in some areas of the image because it was a very sunny day. Things that I noticed on a positive note are the excellent focus and stabilization of the camera. This is a 60 frames per second video with a more cinematic feel to it. And then let's see what follows. This is the 4K video. That's pretty much picture perfect. Great clarity, great stabilization, excellent colors and lighting. No problem whatsoever. And speaking of stabilization, we tested the optical image stabilization as usual by descending a set of stairs. We also did that with the Xiaomi Mi 5 and all the other phones we've tested that are known to have good or not so good stabilization. Some have optical, some have digital stabilization. Well, this one was tested here, and although these colors are a bit oversaturated, the quality is very crisp, and not once did we lose focus even though we were descending stairs quite fast. The microphone is also pretty good during filming, and we tested the focus change, both autofocus and manual focus, and let's see what happened. So test number 1 is this one here, and it involves tapping to focus. So we tap on this, then we tap on that. And then we have the autofocus test, which is this one here, which is incredibly fast. As you can see, it focuses instantly on the background or on the foreground. So once again, I'm sorry to keep repeating that word, but focus is the key for the Galaxy S7 to be compared in a positive way to the S6. We also recorded a selfie video, but more about that in the full text review on gsndon.com. And there are also some disappointments when filming. This is a low light full HD capture. Pretty poor, big street light halos, a bit of grain, and pretty blurry in some darker parts. In spite of that, even though I'm complaining about the low light video capture, we're actually doing better than the Huawei P9 and the Xiaomi Mi 5 when it comes to the brightness, so this catches more light thanks to its bigger aperture. The conclusion, good video, but not in low light conditions. Okay, enough with the camera, we have a huge gallery and you'll see it in the text review. Time to check out the web browser, and this is the standard one, and we also have Chrome in case you want variety. As you can see, not the fastest browser in the world, not at all actually. And in spite of that, we did get some very good browser benchmark results in Chrome at least. We got a comfy keyboard, very well spaced, and with its very own numeric row. Now it's time to discuss the connectivity, and here we are. The Galaxy S7 features Wi-Fi 802.11, ABGN AC, Bluetooth 4.2, ANT, micro USB 2.0, in case you were wondering about USB Type-C, no trace of that. There's GPS, NFC and GLONASS available here. There's Wi-Fi dual band with MIMO and LTE category 12 or 13. We rely on a nano SIM slot, and when it comes to the calls, well, we also have an extra volume mode for the noisy areas, great call quality, loud calls and very clear ones, plus a very good microphone on this handset. We did a speed test and let's see what came out of that experience. We achieved 25 Mbps in download and 25 in upload. On a typical router, I would call this pretty good, although I've seen phones on the same router reaching 30 Mbps. The battery was also tested. It's a 3000 mAh unit, quite the upgrade from the Galaxy S6 2550 mAh. And let's see how this phone handled the heat of the battery. Okay, so let's find the handset here. This is our sister site, and I have a huge database of phones where you can easily find the handset you're looking for and also some pretty nifty results of their benchmarks. Here we go, the culprit is here and we should find its battery results. Okay, battery. So when we tested the video playback in a loop, we achieved a huge 13 hours and 41 minutes, which is great, and it's above the Galaxy S6 that achieved 9 hours and 49 minutes, still below the fantastic S7 Edge with its 15 hours and 15 minutes. We also did a PC mark test for continuous usage and achieved 8 hours and 2 minutes. Once again, the Galaxy S6 was beat. That one scored 7 hours and 6 minutes. We also beat the Xiaomi Mi 5 and we scored below the Galaxy S7 Edge and it's 9 hours and 17 minutes. Finally, the charging requires 1 hour and 52 minutes. There is also wireless charging, and this result places us in a better position than the Huawei Mate S and the Sony Xperia Z5. In the meantime, the Galaxy S7 Edge charges faster with 1 hour and 33 minutes, and the Galaxy S6 was a real record breaker with 1 hour and 10 minutes, so in this aspect the Galaxy S7 hasn't evolved very much. Of course, we have battery saving features like power saving mode that limits the performance, vibration feedback and location services, and then the ultra power saving mode that triggers a grayscale interface and saves a lot of juice and only offers the basic features here. So overall, a great battery, maybe aside from the charging. Now it's time to discuss the OS, UI and applications, and let's see what we're dealing with here. So this is Android 6.0.1 with the latest TouchWiz on top. We still have Flipboard available as an optional feature. as one of the home screens. And then we have colorful icons that are pretty vivid and at the same time abstract. If you pinch the screen, the home screen, you get access to wallpapers, widgets, themes and screen grid. This one lets you arrange icons in a 4x4, 4x5 or 5x5 setup. The themes are very nice looking, and you can also download more from a special theme store, if I'm not mistaken. Here we go, theme store, a lot of stuff to tweak your device's look. Then we have the widgets, also very nice looking, sort of a glossy vibe to them that suits the latest TouchWiz. When it comes to the multitasking, it's done like this via a carousel, and some of the apps can be used in split screen mode. For example, the gallery and the web browser can be used like this. You can transfer content from one side to the other. You can transfer text into an email or a photo and things like that. Then in the drop down area, we have the quick settings, usually related to connectivity. You can see all of them like this. Then we have the brightness slider, quick connect, and obviously the notifications. Now, time to discuss the settings. So, we got the most used settings and the favorite settings here at the top. Because the list is so long, you have your favorite ones and preferred ones here at the top. Connectivity settings and Smart Manager. This cleans up the memory, checks out security in the antivirus section, and basically takes care of your phone. We have a Do Not Disturb feature here, and finally, advanced feature that includes games. So you can manage game launcher and game tools. Well, game launcher pretty much arranges all the game in one place and also makes game recommendations, and it has other features like power saving, no alerts during games, and game tools, which are these ones here. Game tools lets you record your gameplay sessions with your face using the front camera, takes screenshots, deactivates the capacitive buttons, and makes sure you don't get alerts during the gameplay. This is how you record. Image, front camera, microphone, game audio, set the resolution, so you can do playthroughs and become the next PewDiePie simply using a software thingy and not a special video card or recording device. Okay, other features in the advanced area, one-handed operation, which goes something like this. And check this out, should be able to work it. Let's go back. Advanced features, one hand, and you can reduce the screen size, which was actually deactivated. Now let's see what happens. Here we are, that's what I wanted to show you. You can minimize the window, move it around, and keep doing your other activities while the window is minimized. And you can also close it down anytime you want. Okay, quick launch the camera by double pressing the home button. You already saw one-handed operation, also applies to keyboards and things like that. Pop-up view gesture, which was actually what I showed you before. Smart capture, has to do with screenshots, palm swipe to capture, direct call, smart alert, and some experimental feature thanks to the Galaxy Labs. Okay, now it's time to discuss the fingerprint setting. So lock screen and security, you can rely on the fingerprint as far as I know. Okay, just did that, and here we go, fingerprints. We're securing it with a pin as an extra security measure. And we're done. And now let's see just how fast we can unlock the phone using the print. Instantly, as you can see. Okay, and now let's try various degrees. For example, 90 degree. And then 180 degree. And it worked just fine. So accurate, fast. You can also set a private mode. And speaking of modes, I have to say that the setup is a bit slow when it comes to registering the fingerprint. Anyway, modes. Standard mode and easy mode. If you're a beginner in smartphones, you may prefer this one, which is basically simpler, like an old school interface. Now it's that part of the review where we analyze the pre-installed apps. I counted all of them. There are 36 apps. Not exactly bloatware, so we're doing fine. Samsung has cut the number here. They removed their music player and video player. For example, let's see what we got here. We got My Files, Voice Recorder, Email, S-Voice, and Galaxy Apps, their very own app store. And then we have the famous S Health, where you can track your pulse. your water intake, calories, stress level, oxygen meter, and as usual I'm not happy with the pulse scanner at all, and as usual it fails because many of my friends register 100 BPM while sitting on the chair doing nothing, and it's hard to believe they all have heart problems. The Google suite is here, and from Microsoft we have Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneDrive and OneNote, then social networking apps like Instagram and WhatsApp, Samsung Gear, Play Store, Facebook, phone, messages and all that, plus S Planner, basically the glorified calendar, and Memo with some pretty nice features here like tasks, image, drawing and voice. Okay, so those are all the apps, nothing fancy and good enough not to be called bloatware. Time for the verdict. Once again, this is the Samsung Galaxy S7, the flagship that Samsung has for the current year. And on the Pro side, it's a very good looking phone. It has a premium design and a bit refined from the Galaxy S6. It has a bright screen, that's for sure, very powerful hardware inside, and it's waterproof and has a microSD card slot as extras from the predecessor, good audio, good camera, but, and that but continues in the con section, it does great video capture, pretty nice optical image stabilization, it has a very good battery, and it takes pretty bright pictures during the night time. Now when it comes to the cons, it's a bit of a fingerprint magnet. It's below the Galaxy S6 when it comes to some of the camera's departments. The low light videos were a bit disappointing and the charging would be shorter. Also, the pulse scanner has become useless and irrelevant during the years, still not good and not accurate results. There's no FM radio and generally it doesn't feel like that big of an upgrade from the Galaxy S6. So overall, it's a great phone, but also there was a great phone before it, the Galaxy S6, and it feels more like a Galaxy S6s than its own phone. Basically, if you own one of the big four from last year, I mean S6, S6 Edge, S6 Edge Plus, Galaxy Note 5, there's no point in buying this, I can say that for sure. Still, it's a great phone if you have a Galaxy S5, yes, you can jump to it. If you have an S6, no, don't. Wait for the S8 next year or whatever comes this fall. Still a great phone if you ignore last year's model. Maybe the camera could be a bit better, other than that pretty much perfect for a current flagship. This is gsm1.com and this is the Samsung Galaxy S7 review. Bye bye.